And now, the world's most watched professional wrestling news program, the Pro Wrestling Report. Recorded live.
Welcome, fans, to PWR Interactive Special Edition. Dameon Nelson here, along with the man they call Meathead, and we are here to talk about the TNA Lockdown coming from the Lowell, Massachusetts Tsongas Center. TNA Lockdown, a pay-per-view on the road from TNA, following up their on-the-road pay-per-view from last month, Destination X, which was in Norfolk, Virginia. This one, of course, headlined by Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle for the TNA Championship, along with another main event, which is, indeed, Lethal Lockdown. Meathead, how are you on this late Sunday evening?
Unfortunately sober, Dameon. I am sober.
Well, that'll be good, at least to start the show. Fans, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to take it match by match. We're going to talk about each match. If you want to chime in, you have two options by which to participate. If you are listening to us live immediately following TNA Lockdown, you can participate in the chat room with the PWRshow.com website, or you can call us live. You can call in and give us your thoughts on TNA Lockdown pay-per-view tonight. The number to call, 724-444-7444. Once again, that's 724-444-7444. You want to answer the call ID 11203. We'll be taking calls throughout this evening's episode. So call in now if you want to be a part of the show, and we will refer to all of you lovely fans for joining us throughout the episode here. Now, folks, if you have people who you know want to know the results of TNA's pay-per-view this evening, get them on the horn now. Get them to be a part of PWR Interactive. That's why we do this show, is to bring you those results as soon as the show, goes off the air. Meathead, this one was hyped, as we said, by every match being in a cage. And, of course, the main event being Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle in a cage. The most dangerous pay-per-view of the year is what it was billed as. I will say that the countdown show, which is rare to talk about, was a very well-done countdown show. Nothing live at all. They never went to the arena, but really did not need it. Impressive from TNA. What continued along the impressive course of TNA was when they opened the pay-per-view, they went to, at ringside, Mike Tenay. But then they did something very different. Don West was in the crowd talking to the fans about the main event. But it didn't stop there, because Jeremy Borash, also in the crowd in a different location, talking to fans about the main event. Meathead, TNA took a unique approach to this pay-per-view, one that I love and wish more wrestling organizations would do. They got in the fans' faces, and they hyped the main event. This pay-per-view was clearly all about the main event.
Well,
that was followed by a huge...
That's the way it should be. I mean...
exactly. We as wrestling fans have been conditioned against it, though.
Yeah, I guess. And the thing that gets me is, TNA, Bound for Glory, right, is supposed to be their WrestleMania show, their big show of the year. So what is Lethal Lockdown? Is it their SummerSlam? Because if you knew going into this, that this was going to be either Joe is gone or Joe wins the belt. This is, this big main event that's being built up. If you knew that this was going to be the one, don't you think they should have done more promotion, more cross-promotion, ran commercials on different channels, all this other stuff, and built it up and tried to get the big buys for this big, monstrous event that could be Joe winning the belt?
Well, and as we said on a recent edition of the Pro Wrestling Report, which can be viewed at PWRshow.com, what makes these events special from TNA is when they go on the road. And tonight they were on the road again. They are taking more to the streets. And this was indeed one of their most unique pay-per-views, again, because everything is in the cage. Now, you got a risk there of being a little too gimmicked and having every match need to be a bloodfest. We'll talk about in a minute as we go match by match how that wasn't necessary tonight on a very well-done Lockdown pay-per-view. Now let's go back into the open where we saw a video package where Meathead, it seems like you may have written this line, which said, "Here I stand, tall and erect."
Hey now.
This was supposed to be the cage referring to itself in the third person. However, we saw again, Meathead, what really is reminiscent of the Nitro set. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Great pyrotechnics display. Again, Don Rest and JB in the crowd. Very well done open. All about the main event, giving it significance. Just in this first 5 minutes of the pay-per-view, Meathead, I was more interested in the main event, which means, as you said, that's what it's supposed to be.
Right, exactly. And Dameon, because you came to this revelation this last week, I don't know if you mentioned it on PWR News, which you can go ahead and, once you're done with this, jump on over to the site and check out the show if you haven't seen so already. Didn't you say that you're a little sick of WWE and they're a little too full of themselves and you're happy with TNA? Didn't you say that? Don't they have your attention?
I'm a TNA fan.
Yes.
TNA has my attention.
Okay.
WWE is at times too arrogant for their own good.
Okay.
Let's go into the first matchup, the opening match. TNA has a history of opening their pay-per-views strong, hot, and heavy. Tonight they did it again with the X Division Escape match. Lots of people, folks, in this elimination-style matchup. Curryman, Johnny Devine, Consequences, Creed, Sanjay, Dutt, Shark Boy, and the champion, of course, Black Machismo, Jay Lethal. Folks, a lot of people in this match, and that's the theme of the night. There weren't many people on the roster, if any, who were not used tonight, which is what it should be again. TNA did a lot of stuff right tonight. Let's go over this match specifically. It was elimination style, folks. Sanjay Dutt eliminated by pinfall by Johnny Devine, who was extremely impressive in this match. Shark Boy, 24/7, eliminated by pinfall by Consequences Creed after the Meathead. This is a new finisher, by the way. The Creed DT.
Ooh, hey now.
The Creed DT. Now here's the interesting point. This is Consequences Creed's second match in TNA, and he's on a pay-per-view, doing a damn good job, by the way.
Yep. Well, I mean,
Curryman
in this run.
Yeah, exactly, and he did a great job until Curryman eliminated him after an awesome moonsault off the top of the cage, which was a work of art, a masterpiece. Johnny Devine, then eliminates Curryman, who was over as over can be, Meathead, in this matchup.
You know, the thing about Curryman, I love Curryman, and honestly, I could see him mixing it up. Now, again, he's stuck in the low part of the card, the X Division, or the comedy portion of. Dude, for those of you who don't know, wink, wink, this guy can wrestle. We've seen him wrestle before. He can wrestle.
And he's also available right now in an exclusive interview that you can't find any damn where else on PWRshow.com.
Whoa. When did we interview Curryman? Whoa.
Well, we interviewed Christopher Daniels, who knows Curryman very well.
Okay. Thank you.
PWRshow.com, ladies and gentlemen, and all over the web. Meathead, we've expanded huge and, quite frankly, the number 4 top subscribed channel on YouTube this week.
Right, and speaking of
This
expanding
PWR show, our brand new channel.
I've got some plans after the show, so let's get this moving.
Well, now, okay,
hey
super.
Now.
Ties up, does Johnny Devine, who's last in the match with Jay Lethal. Sanjay Dutt never left. Now, remember, him and Jay Lethal are buds, if you will.
Supposedly.
Jay Lethal gets tied up with the tape that was around the wrist of Johnny Devine. Unique. Haven't seen that before, and there'll be a lot that we hadn't seen before on tonight's pay-per-view. Sanjay Dutt blocks the exit as Johnny Devine tries to exit, helps out Lethal, who jumps out of the open door for the win. Jay Lethal retaining the X Division Championship in what I think was an excellent match, and again, another solid performer. Last month at Destination X, we saw the 3-way tag title match with LAX coming out, an amazing match against the Motor City Machine Guns and Raven Hoyt. Now, again, elimination style, Jay Lethal wins the match. Great match. We then go backstage. Frank Trigg pretty much buries Samoa Joe's chances with JB in the back. That was your cue, JB in the back.
Yeah, on the stick in the back, I understand. Frank is sleeping, so I can't do Frank's gimmick all the time for him.
How many episodes has Frank been on PWR Interactive for?
He was on one for 5 minutes. Apparently this is the adult version of PWR, so Frank can't be involved in this one.
And that's Frank Costantino.
You guys don't know how PC Frank is. When you call Frank's cell phone, he has Ring of Fire, and that's out of control for him. I fell into a burning ring of fire.
Frank Cosentino not able to be with us tonight. However, Frank Trigg is the person we're talking about as he pretty much buries Samoa Joe's chances with JB in the back. Not sure if it was live or pre-recorded. If live, I'm not sure if TNA was ready for what he said. If recorded, very smart move by TNA because, again, going into this pay-per-view, the perceived winner, the expected winner, was indeed Samoa Joe. But you really didn't know for sure what was going to happen. And once we get to that matchup, you'll be a little surprised for the results. But it is Meathead then the first ever Queen of the Cage match, rather. This one's unique because there's every other diva, I'm sorry, that's an insult to the TNA knockouts.
Or
every other knockout starts outside the ring. She wasn't quite in this one, but starts outside the ring. Then the first two participants that get in the ring will have a one-on-one match. The winner of that match will be the number one contender for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Did you follow that, Meathead?
Yes, I did. The winner of the two that got in the cage is the number one contender.
And here are the participants, folks. Christy Hemme, Salinas, Jacqueline, Tracy Brooks, Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, Raka Khan, wow, and Roxy Laveau. Now, Angelina Love is the first one into the cage. Remember, everything started outside. She's followed in by Roxy Laveau. Roxy, surprisingly, wins this match, Meathead, and is now the number one contender with the Voodoo Drop. Now, we saw that move debut live in the Impact Zone when we were there for a taping recently. Well, hell, it's better on TV. Great move, certainly deserving of the win. Roxy Laveau is the number one contender for Awesome Kong's TNA Knockout Championship.
Knocked Up Championship, because my girl is still in the house, so it's knocked up.
And then in a match which we talked about on this week's edition of the show and how insignificant it was seemingly being portrayed, it was B.G. James versus Kip James as former tag team partners collided. Now remember, folks, all these matches housed within the 6 sides of steel, a very stiff 6 sides of steel. As unlike a WWE cage, there was little to no give in this cage. Former tag team partners collide. It's Kip James versus B.G. James. B.G. James wins after a good but short match, Meathead, that saw B.G. get beat down for most of it. Kip James dominating in this matchup. At the end of the match, after B.G. James steals one pretty much with a roll-up, B.G. attempts to reconcile, seeming like we're going to have a reformation of the, can we just call them the New Age Outlaws, or Kip, of course, though, accepts and then turns, clotheslining B.G. James, and then stands over him and delivers a couple of crotch chops. Again, sort of a dud was this match.
You know what it was? It was like giving birth to a new brown baby boy. When it goes flop.
Well, speaking of which, LL Cool Bean says Billy Gunn reminds him of Billy and Chuck, followed up by Griftar, who says that was a bathroom break match, and it indeed was for this
What a segue from my little turd joke.
But be a bad match. Let's get that clear. Not a bad match. Just expectation level was set purposely low, perhaps, and it met those expectations. It was not a bad match. Certainly a good place on the card for the match, which did at one point have some significance. A match that may not have had as much significance, though, was indeed the Cuffed in a Cage match, Meathead. This one added recently, which includes several tag teams, including your favorite, the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, well,
now,
I
here's
still
the premise
point
of this
towards
match.
the Scar.
Here's the premise of this match. There are 6 teams that are involved. You lose or get eliminated from the match by being handcuffed to the cage on the inside. Now, this match sounds like a train wreck. Meathead, it turned out to be one of the best matches on the card.
Really?
Which is very surprising. Exactly. It was the Rock and Rave Connection versus Kazarian and Eric Young. Now, Eric Young attacked in the back by Relic and Black Rain, not able to participate in the match. What do you think that means? Of course we're going to see Super Eric later, but I don't think anybody predicted how we would see Super Eric. Relic and Rain in the match, Motor City Machine Guns, LAX, and Steiner, and now I guess he's called Little Papa Pump, or Little Petey Pump, Petey Williams. I'm not sure what the hell's going on with that. But I am still a Petey Williams mark, by the way, even though I don't believe, now there was a lot going on in this match, and as Don West said, 12 men in the ring. I don't think we saw the Canadian Destroyer, but what we did see was, quite frankly, Meathead, an amazing match. Steiner is actually the first to be cuffed, as we're reminded that he's got a TNA Championship match coming up at Sacrifice in about 28 days. Eric comes out, Eric Young does. He can't get into the cage still. This is so obvious that he's going to leave again and come back as Super Eric. But in the meantime, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin are cuffed. So we've got several people cuffed still inside the ring, sort of awkward, but works because occasionally they'll get a shot in. But here is where things turned. Because Kazarian with the Flex Faster, Johnny Rave from the top rope, absolutely amazing. Meathead, I rewound it not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but the 5 time rewind on that spot.
Wow.
It was absolutely awesome.
No, I wish, unfortunately, folks, I was out today. I was unable to view the PPV, but I have been paying attention to the results, and yeah, that's going to have to be one. I'm thinking about getting it actually tomorrow night, during Raw, because.
But it didn't stop there. Lance Hoyt, very intense, including wrestling half the match with a cigarette in his mouth, which has to be a first.
No, have you ever watched ECW, Dameon? Sandman did it all the time.
Wrestling, though, with a cigarette in his mouth?
He probably wrestled. He probably came into the ring. He probably left the ring. Matter of fact, I've seen him knock pool sticks over.
Here's what he did do. He delivered, as JR would say, the damnedest choke slam I have ever seen in my life. On Kazarian, by the way. The damnedest choke slam. The elevation was amazing. The execution was amazing. This match is all of a sudden a superstar match on this card, and we didn't even know we were going to get it until just this weekend.
Yeah, TNA consistently over-delivering on pay-per-view, but again, the problem is, who knows it? Except for, I hate to use the term IWC again, but who knows it?
Here's what we talked about on PWR News, which if you haven't watched it, or as Christian would say, if you don't know, then now you do know, which I don't know if I'd like to.
You're going to do the line, dude. Do it right. Come on.
Hey, that was a tribute to AJ Styles, who said, don't bring it, sing it. Listen, now, on this week's edition of PWR News, fans, we said TNA is all about those little steps. And combined, those little steps are one huge leap. What they're doing, Meathead, is on these pay-per-views, they're proving each and every month how they are the most fan-friendly wrestling organization, how they are the most appreciative wrestling organization, and quite frankly, they're delivering a product that you cannot get anywhere else right now, bar none.
Yeah, absolutely.
This match was an example as it continued, and as Super Eric then comes out with a crossbody from the top of the cage onto 4 men, pins Black Rain for the win, as it is those 2 left in the ring. This match, Meathead, was good and much, much better than it should have been.
Yeah, again, all their guys in TNA can really work. And what's amazing to watch is the, for lack of a better term, the WWE cast-offs that are in these matches, putting over the TNA guys. I mean, what was the complaint over and over? Your Booker T's, your Tests, your all these other guys coming in and instantly thinking that they're supposed to be in the main event. Well, they're putting over the TNA guys.
And that's what it's all about, fans. What it's also all about, this show, PWR Interactive, we're all the way live, and you can call in right now, be a part of it. 724-444-7444. Lots of 4s, Meathead. 724 444-7444. Can I release some personal information about you, Meathead?
Go.
The last 4 digits of your cell phone number.
666.
It involves 2 numbers, 6 and 9.
69.
Call ID is 11203. Again, the number to call in, be a part of the show live. Tell us what you thought about TNA Lockdown tonight is 724-444-7444. Call ID is 11203.
Dameon, for those of you in the Milwaukee area checking this out, when I see this phone number, I think I should be calling Daniel Condos.
The law offices of...
Yeah.
That is phenomenal.
For those of you that don't know,
you got to put a nickel in the jar for that.
Yeah, 444.
And LL Cool Bean points out, though, here in the chat room on our talk show live call, is you could indeed not call them numbers. Just use TalkShoe Pro. You can call in via voice over IP. Put a headset on your head, and as if you're gaming, you can hook on up here to us with PWR Live. And lest we not forget, we are indeed live again tomorrow. Tomorrow night.
One more thing.
7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just before WWE Raw goes on the air. It is the weekly edition of PWR Interactive. We do a lot of shows.
Dameon, one more thing. You have not yet mentioned, to conversate with us on the phone, you must be a registered user. Guests will not be on the phone.
Exactly, and we do have a call from Southern California. Hell, let's just take it. Caller, you're on the air with PWR Interactive from Southern California. What's your name, and where exactly are you calling
hung up already.
from?
It's gone.
Well, that was fun.
Well, thank you for calling.
Can I blame that one on the interns?
Yes. Blame it on the interns, blame it on Man, Bear, Pig, whatever you got to do.
Chi-Town, you say great ratings report this week, guys. Very interesting indeed on PWR News. We will bring you that monthly, as I think it really tells an amazing story. TNA up 4.5% year over year, the fastest growing, as far as ratings go, wrestling organization compared to WWE. The next match, Meathead, is Awesome Kong teaming with Raisha Saeed in her first official matchup versus ODB and Gail Kim. ODB, who has been featured on the Pro Wrestling Report, is participating in this matchup as well. We've had actually several superstars on this pay-per-view that have been on the show just within the last year. But be that as it may, Raisha Saeed, actually, she's pretty damn good. Better than I expected.
What did I say? And Dameon, what did I say in the 2-minute drill? Which you can also check out on pwrshow.com. By the way, are you and I just getting to be plugging machines?
Well, it's all, when you do so many shows as we do now, and as the hit that is PWR 2-Minute Warning, we got to make sure people have the opportunity to get to it. And as we transition into our new YouTube channel, which is, by the way, the 4th top subscribed the 4th top subscribed
There are
YouTube
girls
channel
lining up
week.
to subscribe to my meat every day.
Yes, and they immediately canceled their subscription after the first issue.
Wrong!
Now, ODB said the ring holds on to the flask before she's ever tagged in. It's amazing. Very funny is ODB, who comes in. Now, Gail Kim. Gail Kim is a pretty girl. Gail Kim is hot. Gail Kim takes a bump better than any female wrestler I think I've ever seen. But still, she delivers what was, by far, the best female moonsault in professional wrestling that I've ever seen, from basically the top of the cage on Raisha Saeed. There was no floor. Their floor was nowhere to be found. Gail nailing that Hurricanrana perfectly off the cage. ODB comes in after Awesome Kong accidentally hits Raisha Saeed. ODB with the splash. 1, 2, 3. ODB and Gail Kim win this match.
Yeah, and you say that Gail Kim does a great Hurricanrana, I remember a female wrestler by the name of Lita who used to do an amazing Lita Karana, but you know what, Gail Kim,
hers
don't
was
take
beautiful.
anything.
Gail's is effective.
Don't take anything away from Gail. I mean, they both could go. A match between Lita and Gail would be an amazing match, but it'll never happen because Lita, she's done.
She done quit that crack cocaine.
Yes.
Movie reference, folks. JB is in the back, Meathead, with Karen Angle.
On the stick.
Very bizarre what's going
on
with
the stick?
No, potentially. But here's what's very interesting about Karen Angle. We know she's going to be there. We're told she's got a special guest at Lockdown. So this is pretty much the swerve that we could see coming down the road. Now, keep in mind, in the matches we've talked about so far, no outside interference. It's a cage pay-per-view. Makes some sense. However, you just know Karen's got something up her sleeve. We'd find out what that would be later in the card. She was wearing sleeves.
That's a lot better than Vicky Guerrero. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Now, let me tell you, folks, and because I typically can pick up on this stuff before the average fan, here's how Vicky Guerrero is hilarious.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. That's classic stuff. Be that as it may, it is now a grudge match. It is a match that is substantially hyped, a match that has a lot of drama surrounding it. It is a mixed tag team match. One of the top stars in wrestling right now, in my opinion, Robert Roode, teams up with Peyton Banks to go up against Booker T and Sharmell. Sharmell without a belt or leather strap this night, but it is a grudge match, and pretty much, Meathead, the match dominated by Booker T and Robert Roode until Sharmell tags herself in, gets the pin on Peyton Banks in a surprisingly dull match.
Yeah, well, that angle is actually kind of done, kind of dull. It's kind of over.
Yeah, well, the expectations for this match were higher. It was essentially Booker and Roode. However, Sharmell's funny to watch. fans, I encourage you to just watch Sharmell in the shadows, in the back, if you will. Just watch her face and her reactions. And then if you watch Family Guy, it'll be funnier. Now, from there we go to...
How are you getting that reference past me?
Wait, no, I didn't mean it that way.
Oh, okay.
Let's go to Lethal Lockdown, Meathead. This match is Team Cage versus Team Tomko. It's one half of the double main event that is tonight.
One half of the roster
this one has,
in there, too.
Well, indeed, as they continue to use pretty much everybody. This one is 5 against 5. However, here are the rules. First 5 minutes, 2 men start. Christian Cage is number 1 for his team. We are led to believe Tomko is going to be number 1 for Team Tomko. However, we're swerved by AJ Styles, who is already in the ring, who then attacks Christian Cage from behind. They go a solid 5 minutes, and then every 2 minutes after that, somebody else enters the ring, and they do so in this order. Bubba Ray, Rhino, James Storm, Kevin Nash, Brother Devon, Matt Morgan, chewing a very large piece of gum. Not as good as Shawn Michaels does, by the way, folks. Tyson Tomko, and then Sting comes in. Now, Meathead, after this last man enters, it is indeed, as Griftar says in the training, in the chat room here, it's just like War Games, the match beyond, because the roof lowers, and on this roof are several tools, including a ladder, including a chair, including a table, including a baseball bat. This is what really makes this match interesting when that roof comes down. Not as interesting as AJ Styles and Sting, along with Christian Cage, who the three of them stole this match, in my opinion. The three of them completely overworked this match and did so phenomenally. One more nickel in the AJ Styles nickel jar. But, Meathead, Cage with a crossbody off the top of the cage, Mysterio style, put his arms behind him and sort of flew. Cage, in my opinion, is in TLC match mode. It's the Christian of 1999. Remember that match at No Mercy, the match that made the Hardys, the match that made Edge and Kristen, the match that made Terry's tits.
Whoa. It was the Terry Invitational Tournament, otherwise known as the Tits. Terry's tits.
And they were all competing for Terry's services.
Yeah.
Indeed, but
now,
you know what?
When you're talking about services, you're not talking about her accidentally slipping Viagra into Meat's water and then him having to wrestle with the hard-on, are you?
I do believe it would be considered a national tragedy if anyone ever slipped you Viagra.
Oh, no, I'm not on Viagra. I'm naturally rock. Anyway.
In reference to the cage matches tonight, it was said at the opening of this pay-per-view, and I quote, "Here I stand, tall and erect."
Sure was tall.
This is a match of cage matches. This is a match of cage matches. I'm sorry, a night of cage matches. This is the first match, Meathead, where we've seen some color. And we saw that come off Devon, Brother Devon, who bleeds substantially in this matchup after taking a shot to the very stiff cage, as we referenced earlier. However, here's this last 5 minutes of the match. The last 5 minutes of the match were absolutely amazing, borderline astonishing. This cage lowers, and it is something else, because I will admit, this was my first Lethal Lockdown match that I had ever seen. This cage lowers, and bam, it is just full of stuff. Now, you can also go to the top of this cage, which James Storm does, and you would think there'd be a reference to the fact he had an Ultimate X match last month at the pay-per-view. We'd probably want to just, not mention that match because it was a bit of a disappointment. But up to the top of the cage are James Storm, followed by Christian Cage, followed by AJ Styles. At this point, we are seconds from disaster, because at this point, the ladder gets involved. I'm sorry, the table gets involved, the chair gets involved, the top of the cage breaks, James Storm almost falls through, AJ Styles comes up, they set up the table, Christian is apparently getting ready to put Storm through this table, not going to happen, because AJ Styles gets involved, the ladder gets set up, Meathead, they are 25 to 30 feet in the air, on top of a ladder, on top of a cage, nobody holding it, because normally in WWE ring, the ref's holding the cage, doesn't happen tonight, they topple, do the three of these men, onto a table, through the table, onto the top of the cage. Lethal Lockdown right there delivered something you just had never, ever seen in a professional wrestling match before. This was something special. The last 5 minutes of this match truly delivered. And remember, I said three people own this match: Christian Cage, AJ Styles, and Sting. Sting really, really delivering tonight. An intensity I don't remember ever seeing out of Steve Borden. Sting is what we got tonight. It was absolutely amazing. After that ladder spot, Gore from Rhino on James Storm, who had just hit Matt Morgan over the head with the beer bottle, gets the cover and the pin in what was a very, very impressive match. Meathead, I sum it up in a word, and that word is wow.
As long as you didn't say phenomenal, because that's another nickel in a jar.
It's going to get expensive now. For those of you who don't know, off air, after talking to AJ Styles, which you can find at pwrshow.com, talking to him, which we did for a substantial period of time. AJ's a great guy. We talked about how often we use the word phenomenal, and he requested that we put a nickel jar on the desk, so that every time we say phenomenal, we have to drop a nickel down. But what is important right now, more so than that, is the main event, which is the TNA Championship. We talked earlier about the fact that everything happening on this pay-per-view so far this evening leading up to this main event matchup. This match where people think Joe is going to go over, because remember, Meathead, if Joe does not win, Joe must retire not just from TNA, but from professional wrestling. Frank Trigg is on commentary with Don West and Mike Tenay, have done a phenomenal job thus far that evening. Karen Angle sitting at ringside. However, once Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle come to the ring, which they did WWE style, by the way, the music you like, as they walk through the backstage area coming to the ring, a little bit of a build-up, good intensity there. JB is in the ring. He has come from the back. He is in the ring and does the in-ring
with him?
Yes, he did. And he does the in-ring introductions with them. Penzer was even in the ring for a couple of announcements during the evening as well. So some different things going on with TNA in addition to a new announcer, Laura, who debuted in the back. Sure, she won't be around long, but we'll see.
Or on the stick.
That. Karen Angle is then asked to leave from the ringside area by Kurt's request. Now, earlier she said she was there just because she was concerned about Kurt, and she wanted to make sure that he would be okay in this matchup. Well, Kurt Angle has her removed. She is politely asked to leave. She leaves. And we're sort of left with this, what the hell? Kurt Angle, I thought she had a special guest that she would have with her at Lockdown tonight, but not
it was
the
a black
case.
Hummer.
Karen Angle would leave, and we did not see her again, as this match, which was also rumored to be an MMA-style match, Kurt Angle in completely different gear, no boots, Samoa Joe saying, as he said, he's going to walk into this as a wrestling match, did so, wrestled a wrestling match. Meathead, this match was very different. When I say that, it was very different because it wasn't a shoot-style match. However, in my notes here, I wrote, this is the most real, quote-unquote, wrestling match I have ever seen. This was intense. This was, Joe is just absolutely intense as it is. He even amped it up several notches. Kurt Angle taking everything Joe had to offer. This one was something different. TNA, they say they're crossing the line. This could have been how they're going to cross that line. But what was very interesting is the result, the end of the match. Samoa Joe gets the 1-2-3, the pinfall victory on on Kurt Angle, and is the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. As expected, no outside interference. Very smart, very passionate, very well done professional wrestling match, as Joe is the new NWA champion. A new era, if you will, dawning in TNA as Joe finally gets the belt, Meathead.
And it's a long time coming. It's well-deserved. Joe should be the face of TNA. And now with the belt, I think he is.
He is indeed. This was Joe's night. Joe wins the TNA title. Frank Trigg, really, I'm not sure how produced he was, but really surprised at the win and really sold it. I mean, this was a special match, Meathead, a very special match. Here's the things he had going for you. There was this MMA rumor. It's in the Six Sides of Steel, not necessarily the Octagon, but a similar style to the MMA. Kurt Angle, who's got the MMA experience. Frank Trigg on the stick. Samoa Joe, who is stiff as stiff can be. This is a very special match and could show us, as many say, the new direction of TNA wrestling, which this match capped off a very, very solid pay-per-view offering. I would say nearly better than last month's Destination X pay-per-view.
All right, so let me ask you this. Did you enjoy this pay-per-view or WM24 better?
You know, I much like Hillary Clinton, wish you wouldn't have asked me that.
But now the question's on the table. The question's on the table. Now you have to answer the question.
I will answer it politically and say I have not yet seen an on-air version of WrestleMania 24. I don't think... Now, listen. Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle was a special match. Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, was the most special match that has happened in the last tens of years in professional wrestling. And I don't... I will more easily answer the question of New Jersey guy, NJ guy, who says, do you think Lockdown has beat Backlash already? TNA has won the April pay-per-view war.
Well, you can't say that because you haven't seen Backlash. You haven't seen it.
Well, I've seen the lineup for Backlash.
It doesn't matter what the lineup is.
You know, I'm going to watch Backlash. I'm going to give it a chance, but I just don't feel that I'm going to get top to bottom the wrestling product I got tonight. I don't feel I'm going to get top to bottom the intensity that I got tonight. I just don't feel that it's possible in this this age of WWE. Let's go to one of our callers here, and it's Chi-Town, who is here on PWR Interactive to talk about TNA Lockdown. Chi-Town, what's your name and where are you from?
I'm Tom Shockey from Chicago, obviously. Chicago on the forum.
You have to speak slow with
Is
Dameon.
Chicago your kind of town, as Frank Sinatra would sing?
I know Dameon said, Chi-Town, where are you from? But you have to speak slowly to Dameon. He doesn't get that Chi-Town stands for.
No, listen. All right, now let's clear one thing up right now because, Meathead, you and I from Milwaukee. Here's what a lot of Chicago residents do. Are you truly in the city of Chicago?
No.
Exactly. See? What suburb are you in?
Hoffman Estates.
Hoffman Estates, exactly.
Northwest.
Now, the point is, people say they're from Chicago when they're not really from the city of Chicago because there's so many suburbs around it. It's little,
right.
And
here's the thing, too. You got a population of Chicago of what, 7 million? 6 million?
Yeah, we'll say that. We'll report that.
Well, the people that say they're from Chicago, about 15 to 16 million. The Chicago's not that great. I mean, you got people that live up here in Greendale that don't say I'm from Milwaukee. Anyway, Chi-Town, what's your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the main event and how I thought it had great build, and then the match was, exceeding my expectations, and I'm an MMA fan, so I really enjoyed it too, because there was some MMA style in it. But I thought the payoff was really weak at the end when Joe won, and I marked out for about 5 seconds, and they went to the replay, which cut off Joe's celebration for pretty much the entire celebration, and then it came back for about 5 more seconds, and then it was off the air.
They totally should have canned the video package. Totally should have canned the video package. I mean, and here's the other benefit, too, and what we get from TNA pay-per-views. They went 3 hours, folks. For $29.95, they went 3 hours. For $34.95, you're lucky if World Wrestling Entertainment goes 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes. We got 3 hours of essentially solid wrestling. I would say overall, when you look at what they did in the back and any pre-produced video packages, you're probably looking at 15 minutes or so, as opposed to WWE, where I think you get maybe 30 minutes of pre-produced stuff on a pay-per-view. This truly delivered, but indeed, they should not have gone to that video package at the end. They should have showed it to us on Impact this week because you needed to bask in that moment of Samoa Joe winning the title. This was a substantial moment for TNA Wrestling. They did not give us the opportunity to really live and enjoy that moment. And one thing we didn't talk about is the Songa Center was packed. All right? TNA said, and it was said actually, that they were going to probably have their largest wrestling audience that they've had ever. And I think they certainly did that tonight, as the place was just packed, jam-packed, and the energy level was amazing. And here's how TNA delivers, because there's something special when their pay-per-views are on the road, and when you see that completely different look from the Impact Zone at Universal Studios. So I do agree with you. Yes, they certainly should have given more time to the Samoa Joe celebration and canned the video package.
And no fireworks either. I thought that was surprising.
After the win?
Yeah.
All right. If you had to pick an MVP of tonight on TNA Lockdown, who would it be?
I think I'm just going to have to go with Joe. because
makes sense.
This time.
Did you truly expect Joe to win? Did you believe the hype going into this?
I believe Joe was going to win, like before the match and all through the impacts. But then during the match, I wasn't, 100% certain. So it was a good match. I didn't know.
And here's what I thought of during the match. And fans, if you're listening in, you can call us or click on the connect button on the shoe phone icon down the bottom right corner of the screen. But you can call us at 724-444-7444. Call ID is 1123. Click on the dial info link at the bottom of the chat page. But one thing I did think about during that match was Kurt Angle wants to do all this MMA stuff. He wants to either do UFC, wants to do Ultimate whatever, or Elite X or whatever. And, it made no sense for Kurt Angle to have lost this match, to be honest with you all. And given a WWE scenario, if there was a business play that would have made more sense, Kurt Angle would have won that match. But to have Samoa Joe win with all the talk that Kurt Angle has been doing about the MMA and probably moving over to MMA, it would have made sense for him to win, unless TNA is really going to take advantage of the opportunity to partner themselves with an MMA organization, and that could be the catapult that sends them, if not beyond, but at least closer to World Wrestling Entertainment.
And here's the thing, too. I don't think Angle Steiner is going to sell pay-per-views like maybe Joe Steiner could sell a little bit more. Because remember,
in my opinion, Steiner needs to be released.
Steiner said he's going to be cashing in his briefcase. So.
Oh, and that match is made for Sacrifice next month. But Steiner is not giving me anything. Booker T, he's worth it. He makes sense. Christian Cage, worth it. Makes sense. Sting, worth it. Makes sense. Scott Steiner, what the hell? He's clumsy. I mean, he certainly is a name, but I'm just not sure if overall he fits into the picture. Caller, what do you think?
Well, I don't know why, but I am a mark for Scott Steiner. And I don't know. His WWE run was really weak. Obviously, he botched every single move. But I've enjoyed his TNA run, and he's given personality to Petey Williams, so that's another good thing.
And Petey Williams, the Maple Leaf Muscle, Papa Pretty Pump, I'm not sure what his name is, but Petey Williams, I've long been a mark for Petey Williams. And again, I will say, Petey Williams executes the single greatest finishing maneuver in the history of professional wrestling, in my opinion, and I will stand behind that statement. Caller, are you looking forward to Raw tomorrow night from World Wrestling Entertainment?
Yeah.
You sound just like me.
Exactly. When they completely crapped on Monday Night Wrestling last week, in my opinion. Their show sucked, and Impact was certainly the better product. And remember, Impact is the fastest-growing television show in professional wrestling, so we'll see what Impact brings this week, as I believe they are indeed going to be taping those shows in the Impact Zone again this week. And then Sacrifice, the next pay-per-view, will be from the Orlando studios at Universal Studios next month. So we will certainly bring you an update on the next TNA pay-per-view and, of course, the next WWE pay-per-view. And we'd like to say thank you to our caller from Hoffman Estates, otherwise known as Chicago, Illinois. We appreciate your time here on PWR Interactive. And call us tomorrow night, too. We'll go at least a full hour tomorrow night with your questions and your comments. So thanks a lot for the call, caller.
All right, I'll be there tomorrow.
All right, we'll see ya. Thanks a lot. Fans, otherwise, TNA did a great job again. TNA delivering on pay-per-view. TNA delivering, quite frankly, the best wrestling product on a national scale that is available right now. And they really showed us what they could do tonight. And going into this pay-per-view, I will admit, I thought today, I'm like, it's Lockdown. Joe might win. There's this MMA angle. They've got the Lethal Lockdown match. I'm just not sure if I really want to see it or can watch it. Had a late night last night. Been working a lot over the last few days, especially on our new website, which will be debuting very soon. But thought maybe I'd fall asleep, which I do for many a WWE pay-per-view, by the way. I thought I'd fall asleep tonight during the show. Not once did the thought ever cross my mind. Let's talk about Meathead. We had those knockout matches.
Yeah.
We had the Queen of the Cage match. We had the match with Awesome Kong and ODB, Gail Kim, Raisha Saeed. Great matches. Absolutely.
Well,
the TNA Knockouts could be the
go.
single greatest female wrestling entity in the history of the business. I don't know if it's ever been any better. Even in the Wendy Richter, Fabulous Moolah days, this wrestling, what is the difference? And that's the question. What is the difference between female wrestling and traditional male wrestling in TNA?
The difference between female wrestling in TNA and regular male wrestling in, say, WWE? Almost none. No.
In TNA.
Let me finish. Women's wrestling in TNA compared to, say, normal wrestling in WWE is almost exactly the same. That's not a slam on the women. It's not a slam on WWE. Now, if you're comparing women's wrestling in TNA to men's wrestling, just your standard, middle of the show men's wrestling, obviously, and I know we have some females that do listen to the program, males are a little bit stronger, can do a little bit more, have a little bit more dexterity, but not by much. I mean, these girls can go. And, I disagree with what Kip and BG had to say, in that angle they had last year with Christy Hemme about women's wrestling is boring. If you give the women a chance to do what they do, I mean, these women have grown up watching, your Edges and Christians, your Hardy Boys, all these high-flying guys that have been doing what they do, the Rey Mysterios. These girls can go, too. Give them a chance to work.
Indeed, and I think they proved it again tonight. And again, we talked about it's all these small steps which TNA keeps just delivering. Now they stumble every now and again, but overall, this pay-per-view was amazing. It was a great pay. It was certainly worth. And this is what you really think about at the end of a WWE pay-per-view. This pay-per-view worth $29.95. This totally was worth every dime of it, and many a WWE certainly wasn't worth it. But I think overall, TNA Lockdown delivered. I'm looking forward to Sacrifice next month, even given the fact that it'll be Samoa Joe and Scott Steiner as it appears right now. And quite frankly, if you take Steiner out of that equation of Petey Williams, what happens to Petey at this point? And we were thinking, too, what happens to Tracy Brooks, who had a substantial role this month at the pay-per-view, even after no longer being affiliated with the Robert Roode angle. Have I talked about how great Robert Roode is?
Yeah,
tonight?
You're still a mark for him.
I mean, he truly is. He's underrated. One of the most underrated talents in wrestling right now, in my opinion, and continues to deliver. So we will continue to cover his career. Apparently, Bookworm 360 doesn't agree. Roode is meh. Well, if you look at Roode historically over the last 6 months, remember when he was Mr. Robert Roode, and it's sort of like a JBL kind of angle. It's like, what the hell are they doing with this guy? He's proved it. He's worthy of it and is there. So with that being said, TNA Lockdown, solid pay-per-view, Sacrifices next month. This show, PWR Interactive, will come to you again live tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6:30 Central. We'll go for about an hour just before WWE Raw, and then that's every Monday night, folks, 7:30 p.m. Keep tuned in to the Pro Wrestling Report, PWRshow.com website especially, and take note, we have a new YouTube channel. It is PWR Show consistently. We're also now available on Yahoo Video, Google
Yahoo,
Video, Metacast, VO. If you name a video, Wrestling Report is now available on it, so help us be viral and send those messages about the PWR episodes to all of your friends all around the world. And also, as Chi-Town says, added already on the YouTube channel, we are, again, number 4, Meathead. I ain't making this up, the 4th most subscribed channel on YouTube this week for the particular category that we are in, and number 84 overall. So
and you know what, Dameon?
Substantial when you look at 25 million users a day on YouTube.
You know, Dameon, it's kind of funny to think that, just over, and I don't want to bring this up, and I know you're probably mad that I'm bringing this up, but just over a few weeks ago, people thought that we were going to be, hasta la vista. We had this huge exodus. We went into PWR News, and oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah, how dare us change? And when you look at right now, what have we added? We've added 2-minute warning, or 2-minute drill rather, which is a great show. I'll admit that myself.
You know why?
PWR News continues.
PWR
Interactive is live each week now. I'm sorry?
I said it's me without a sports jacket, and it's me getting to be me, boys and girls. That's me being me.
Our viewership is actually up about 25%, and also web traffic 2 prior years up 65%. So we're not gloating. We're simply saying thank you, but we've got a lot more room to grow. Once we have 1 million viewers a week, I'll be somewhat satisfied. But until that happens, we're still going to continue fighting the good fight. But make sure you join us, folks, and also make sure you join us this week on PWR Interactive. We truly love doing this show, and also get ready for the new PWR website, which may launch tonight, but we'll see if the Internet team can continue to work out those kinks and make sure it is as user-friendly as we expect it to be and as our fans have come to expect. So, for Frank Cosentino, for the man they call Meathead, who is not drinking, which is good for me this evening, we will thank all of you guys for coming on board. And remember, this is your source for all the true, real, factual, non-sensationalized professional wrestling news and information. It's the Pro Wrestling Report, where we are respected, refined, and real. We thank you for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow night here again on PWR Interactive. Thanks a lot for your calls, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. And Meathead, good night.
Good night.